Internet, hello you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, a movie I was very much looking forward to all year that actually exceeded my expectations. This is a movie for the fandom. This is a movie that dives very deep into this world, but a movie that I found very approachable as someone who does not know the deep lore. That is not like I am with comic books and things. If you're new to this page, I cover movies, I cover TV, and I cover lots and lots of comics. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and I review things from that lens. I also break down my favorite comics of that week, but I'm very much in the nerdy and genre content space. So what I loved about this movie was it was something that is deeply nerdy, that has so much lore, that is full of Easter eggs and all these things, but I don't know that world. So this was like me getting to watch a Marvel movie with me. This was like me getting to experience a DC deep dive, but from the outside. Because usually when I'm watching this nerdy stuff, I know a lot more of the intricacies and details. I know what that panel means. I know what that villain is. But here, I watched this at the world premiere with the biggest fans in the world. I got to see it and hear all of the inside jokes amongst each other, but I got to see it as just a movie. So the movie itself is a follow-up to Five Nights at Freddy's, which came out during the pandemic, which got a day and date release theatrically and on streaming. This one is getting a 3-week theatrical window, which makes me very happy. It got to premiere at the Chinese theater. It got to have a bigger rollout, and the success of the first one, I think, really allowed this movie to breathe in a different way. The first film is very much a entryway point into this world of Freddy's. It is a really cool, experimental, very of that fandom's like, let's show the world what this is. This second one trusts that you've seen the first one and trusts you to go along for the ride and really doesn't let its foot off the gas. This movie is a lot bigger, a lot bolder, a lot more stylized, and it has a lot of moments that I could tell everyone around me was waiting for, was building up to, was, oh my god, they said the thing, or oh my god, that's that guy. There are characters in this that appear for a couple moments that everyone lost their mind over, that I'm sure are a huge Easter egg or some fandom. There's also shots that feel like some of the very limited gameplay I've seen. I'm not someone that watches a lot of gameplay, but I have seen the world of Freddy's, and there are shot-for-shot recreations of iconic moments that I have seen through the zeitgeist. There are moments that are gameplay-like in the actors' performances, because you can tell that when you play the game, you've got to do this task, and you can't do them simultaneously. So there are moments that are stole straight from the gameplay, and also that are visually pulled straight from the gameplay. There are actual shots that feel like you're playing a game, and that is so cool. The characters, I think, are even more improved here. I think our two leads are so clearly full of chemistry, but also so sure of themselves in this character set. And there's also something I found really interesting about this one, is I feel like millennials had a lot of metamodernism. It's something I talk about a lot. Metamodernism is my favorite concept in media. So there's postmodernism, and then there's metamodernism, which is postmodernism, and it's kind of sincere irony. It's meta-awareness through sincere comedy, and it is stuff like what Lord and Miller do. It is stuff like Dungeons and Dragons. It is stuff, my cat wanted to be held and then just decided against it. It is stuff like, especially what Lord and Miller and like Dungeons and Dragons and those movies. Deadpool is like the extreme. This movie feels like the next generation's humor, and it's almost back to camp. And every generation has different comedy wavelengths. Obviously, the 60s had a little bit more camp than the 80s, say, and the 90s started to get into more of the cruder humor, into the evolution of where we got with the Apatow stuff. And this feels like Gen Z's version of camp. And I say that with a lot of love, because it is very sure of itself. It knows exactly what it is. It knows what it finds funny. It works. It lands. But I didn't see a lot of camp in my era of comedy to the scale. And this, I think, finds a really beautiful way to make really interesting moments funny. Wayne Knight is especially amazing in this. Wayne Knight, you know, from Jurassic Park and amongst lots of other things in the 90s. And it's interesting to see my generation get repped with the old guard, right? Like the parents and the teachers, like Skeet Ulrich and Matt Lillard back, and Wayne Knight. Like, all those people in this movie are my generation's heroes and aspirational figures. Like, Skeet and Matt teaming up again after Scream is so, like, that movie was what I think this movie is for this generation. Like, I saw Scream way too young for it to be an R-rated movie. This is a very hard PG-13 for that generation, and in that way, you've got the eye lines with, you know, McKenna Grace, who's sensational in this. You've got Josh Hutcherson playing like that middle ground, and then you've got you know, my childhood heroes like Matt Lillard, and that really works for the comedy and the tone and all the things. So let's talk about the actual actors in this. McKenna Grace is one of the best actors of her generation, hard stop, and this was another take of her that I hadn't seen. She's got 100-some credits. She's been working for so long. She's so good. It was so cool to see her in this role, and it's a really fun role, and I don't want to give anything away. If this video does well, I'll do a spoiler review. I just don't know if my audience, you know, has that Five Nights at Freddy's thing, and if they do, I really want to talk about this more, so please leave a comment, let me know. I do want to dive into the spoilers, but McKenna Grace is so good here. I also really like the supporting characters. The kid from Final Destination, the newest one, he's in here. There's a few actors I don't know that I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for because they were great in this. And then obviously Josh Hutcherson, I forget the female lead. The two of them have a really great friction and chemistry and build on the first one. The little girl from the first one, grown up a few years, definitely still has that gravitas. She has also mastered that camp, this new wave camp, with getting these lines of dialogue that are funny intentionally, but in canon wouldn't be as intentionally funny. And that's a really hard line to walk. She's fantastic. Matt Lillard is so much presence and gravitas, man. There's a sequence with doors and a hallway that is so good and so powerful. His voice, his command of the screen, top notch as ever. Skeet Ulrich in a really fun role that I really enjoyed, where he popped up and how that all worked out. Really dug that. We've also got a few new characters from the world of Freddy's, and the way they use the different animatronics here is insane. There are different types of animatronics in this world, and it goes into trying to make, I don't know what's a spoiler. This is tricky. So I'm going to be very vague, and again, if you guys want spoiler, I just don't want to say anything that might be a spoiler if it isn't, but I wouldn't know. There's an old Freddy's, like a proto first Freddy's, the one before it franchised out. They go there, and it feels like purely living in a video game map, and there are different animatronics there, and it's really cool to see that evolution in the story and the sequel. And it's really cool to have like cameos and moments that feel like big and important to the game without necessarily knowing how they tie in, because I got to have that fun. The villain is also so perfect. The first film obviously had using those characters and the way that all developed. This one has to evolve somehow. The marionette concept is a great evolution, and the idea of, you know, Wi-Fi and the technology evolving and the visuals of evolving, and the marionette visuals are so scary. This does walk a hard PG-13 line. This does do a really good job balancing what you can do in a PG-13, but still keeping it so people can go see it of all ages, and I think that's what the fandom wants, and I think they got that. It is so scary when it needs to be. It's got great horror elements. It feels like a Blumhouse film, but does walk that very hard PG-13 line. So impressed with the acting, impressed with the tone, impressed with the world building. I had a blast watching this in a theater. I highly recommend you see it in theaters. It is so much more of a movie for movie goers and people that are in the fandom than I think the first one was. And I don't mean to insult the first one in saying that. I just think the first one had a lot to do to welcome you into this world and to walk all of these different paths on eggshells. This one just drives through. And it's a bolder movie, and it's bolder for the fandom. And I think that's the highest compliment I can give it. It is so braggadocious in its confidence, and I loved that. I really dug this movie. I had a great time with it. You know, it is not my fandom, so I'm sure there's a lot I missed. It is not something that I know the details of, and that made it more fun for me because I didn't feel like I was in work mode. I got to just enjoy and play in a movie, and everyone in it loves it, and you can tell and you can feel it. So another hit on Universal's hands, another big swing and a hit and a home run. That's the word I was looking for. Another home run for Blumhouse, and I really hope people dig it as much as they, I hope people show up and dig it as much as they did for the first one, because I think it is a more than worthy successor, and I had a great time with it. My cat wants attention, and I was giving him attention before we rolled, and then he jumped off, and now he's upset and he's staring at me right there. Got to give that cat some pets. So that is going to do it for this conversation. I want to talk spoilers. I want to talk the third act. So if you guys want to see a spoiler review, let's grow this one. Like, subscribe, comments, do all the things that help it grow, and then I'll do a spoiler one if we hit some numbers in this, because I have a lot more to say, because there's a lot of crazy twists and turns it takes, and I don't know if they're spoilers. So that is going to do it for this review. I appreciate y'all. Go check out Five Nights at Freddy's playing right now in theaters, or within a couple hours, depending on when you're watching this review, but probably right now. All right, I appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, comment, all the stuff. Five Nights, what a good time. Appreciate it.